Hi, my name is Megan. I graduated from Nipissing University in both 2020, right after the pandemic, from the Bachelor of Arts Criminal Justice Studies with honors, and I graduated in 2022 with a Master of Arts in Sociology. My experience at Nipissing was great. I chose Nipissing specifically for post-secondary studies because it was close to home. So I could still live at home, see my parents every day, see my family all the time on like long weekends and holidays and things like that. So that in itself, having that support network was really great. The school itself is fantastic. I loved the program. When I first applied for the Criminal Justice Studies program, it was renowned. Like, everyone was talking about how great of a program it was, how it was one of the top in the province. When I first started at Nipissing, I was really nervous. I didn't know anyone. All my friends decided to go to school out of town, so I had to basically start over by creating a brand new social network. But Nipissing fosters such a positive and healthy environment that it was very easy to make those connections. One of my friends from first year, her and I are best friends now, and we still talk to each other every single day. She doesn't live in North Bay anymore, but I don't know what I would do without her. So it's really nice knowing that you'll be able to come here, even if you're like me. You might be from the area, you might be not from the area, you might not know anyone going into your program, but Nipissing makes it possible to foster those relationships over time. Attending Nipissing was probably the best decision I had made career-wise. If I hadn't gone to Nip, I don't know where my career would be at. And I owe a lot to the mentors that I had while I was here. Specifically, Dr. Amir Irfani. When I was in second year, I took his quantitative research methods course, and he pulled me aside and we talked about possible career options, and he told me that there were specific careers that you could do related to social research and statistical analysis. So ultimately I was hooked. That's what I wanted to do. Completely changed my career path from law school to statistics and research. And from there on out, I made it my mission to gain as much research experience as possible. I ended up taking a bunch of sociology courses in my third and fourth year. I did an undergrad honors thesis with Dr. Irfani as my supervisor and Kendra McMillan, who also used to teach here at NIP. And we partnered with the North Bay, Ontario Provincial Police and a local school bus transportation company to analyze the effectiveness of the 8-lamp amber red advanced warning light system on school buses in Ontario. At that time, the light system hadn't yet been implemented on school buses in Ontario, and it was one of the only jurisdictions in the entire continent that hadn't. So we wanted to provide the evidence that yes, they are effective and that Ontario should take that next step. So starting in August, I did my thesis, started doing all the research, the literature review, developing my methods, and then come December is when we got all of the data. So we did a secondary data analysis. We looked at all the trends and the variations. We found stats from outside of Ontario so that we could do that comparative analysis as well. And what turned out was, yes, they are effective. So we wrote up our final report. We made recommendations to policymakers and the government officials who decide on implementing these kinds of things. And we waited a little bit. We waited until we heard from the Legislative Assembly, is this bill going forward? Is it not going forward? So what ended up happening is about 9 months after I completed my undergrad thesis, Mike Harris Jr., one of the MPPs for Ontario, He was presenting Bill C-246, the Safer School Buses Act, to the Legislative Assembly of Ontario. And he was trying to gather experts and witnesses to come and speak on behalf of the bill. So it was at that point that I was invited to speak at Legislative Assembly. So in March 2021, I virtually, because of the pandemic, got to present my research to Legislative Assembly and speak on behalf of passing the bill, hopefully to implement these 8-lamp amber red school bus lights in Ontario. Other people were also there, like Pierre Ranger, the Adam Ranger Stop for School Bus company. We had some other members of Parliament there to speak on behalf of the bill. It was all around, it was a really great once-in-a-lifetime experience. After that, I continued by this time I was in graduate studies, so I continued that again all virtually because of the pandemic. It was a little bit tricky, but it was still fun. After grad school, we all kind of dispersed and got jobs. Amir and I continued to work on developing manuscripts based on my graduate thesis for publishing. So since then, we've actually published one of our papers. We have submitted our second manuscript and we are waiting to hear back. So possibly 2 published papers, which would be fantastic. Since graduating, I've also had the opportunity to go and present at the Canadian Population Society 2023. That was in May earlier this year. And I got to present my thesis research to the panel, which was fantastic. It was a great experience. I made a lot of connections. I met a few researchers from Newfoundland, which was really cool, some from British Columbia, some from New York. So it really helped me make more connections than just what I have in North Bay. So, and then you know the story about me starting to work at the DSAB, and then I started working at Canadore, and now I'm a professor. So all of those things have happened since going to Nipissing, and you know how, like the butterfly effect, right? So, you know, the butterfly flaps its wings and then somewhere else an earthquake happens. So I think if I hadn't gone to Nipissing, these opportunities may not have even come up. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to have had the chance to do those things, and I think I owe a lot of that to attending Nipissing. Something that I really like to live by is that there's always room for improvement. I'm a huge fan of professional development, constructive criticism, all things that are going to help you become a better version of yourself. So my best advice would be don't assume that you know everything, because we know what assuming does. I would say if there's an opportunity to learn more about something, take that opportunity. If you can improve your skill set in any way, improve it. Because there's always going to be room for improvement, right? And then in the professional world, there's always going to be someone who's a step ahead of you. So take whatever opportunities you can to improve yourself, work on yourself, develop your skill set, increase your knowledge on whatever topic it is you're focusing on. My biggest role model would be my parents. They started from scratch, you know, building their lives. They've worked really, really hard to achieve what they now have, and I want to follow suit. So I have this idea that if I can work my butt off and keep, like I said, improving myself, participating in any sort of professional development that I can, then eventually I'll be able to achieve my goals. But I know that they're not just given out. You have to work for them, and you have to be willing to put in the effort and develop the skill set to then achieve those goals. My other role model would be Dr. Irfani. He has taken me under his wing since my second year at Nipissing. So I've been working with this man for about 6 years now. And he has been nothing but great. He has been a little tough and has had high expectations, which he needs to, right? Like, because if you are trying to mold someone into the best version that they can be, you need to have high expectations, and you need to kind of do that tough love every now and then. But he has kind of guided me into where I am today. And without that guidance, I don't think I would be here.